Hello, my name is Holland Timmons, also known as the Connoisseur, and welcome to the final part of my Star Wars reviews, where we'll be looking at the original trilogy and how, in an interesting and unique way, it is actually the tale of Sir Galahad and the quest for the Grail. When last we left off, Anakin was trapped in the Darth Vader suit because of his love for Padme Amidala, the mother of Luke and Leia, much like how Merlin was trapped in a rock, unable to come out due to his love for the sorceress Nimue. But that's the last trilogy. Today we'll be looking at the original trilogy. In the beginning of A New Hope, Princess Leia hides the plans for the Death Star in R2-D2, who, through a series of unfortunate events, winds up in the hands of Luke, or as C-3PO blatantly calls him, Sir Luke. Luke prefers just to be called Luke. But as you can see, Luke is actually Sir Galahad the Pure-Hearted, while Anakin is a fusion of Merlin and Sir Lancelot the Brave. So now we have Sir Lancelot and Sir Galahad in the story. Obi-Wan Kenobi meets up with Luke in the desert of Tatooine as Luke is trying to recover the droids. As they meet up, they decide to go to the Mos Eisley Cantina, where they meet up with Han Solo and Chewbacca, which have absolutely nothing to do with the Grail story, but are interesting side characters. No, scratch that, they're not interesting. They're awesome side characters, and it's an interesting story how they came to be. Originally, Star Wars was going to be the quest for a galactic holy grail. While George Lucas was writing this story, he was racing around California riding it with his dog Indiana, riding shotgun in his car, which gave him an interesting idea for a smuggler and his large dog co-pilot, also known as Chewbacca. So I just thought that was interesting. It has nothing to do with the Grail quest. They take the Millennium Falcon out to go to Alderaan to meet up with Bail Organa, Leia's adoptive father. But Vader blew up Alderaan along with Grand Moff Tarkin in order to persuade Leia to give up the Rebel base. She doesn't, and actually there's a nice moment where they say she's very resistant to the mind control, which shows that she has the Force in her. She's not weak-willed. So, anyway, Luke and Han arrive at the Death Star, where there used to be Alderaan, and Obi-Wan tries to shut down the tractor beam while Han and Luke go to save the princess. Leia represents the princess not needing to be saved, but needing to be protected. She needs to be saved from the Death Star, and ultimately does need to be protected throughout the series. Vader strikes Obi-Wan down, and he joins with the Cosmic Force, which puzzles Vader as to why there isn't a body. Luke witnesses this, and he heads off with Princess Leia and Han, and they go to the moon of Yavin, and they set off with their Y-Wings and X-Wings and A-Wings to take on the Death Star and just blow the fuck up. Vader gets shot in his TIE fighter and he goes spinning off. Anyway, that's the story of Star Wars, the original. But I'm pretty sure you all know that. So yeah, that was Star Wars, written and directed by George Lucas, one of the biggest money makers ever made, adjusting for inflation anyway. Things intensify as Vader goes after Luke, who blew up the Death Star, and Yeah, there's a great scene on the planet Hoth where Luke is abducted by this Yeti-like creature. There's some walkers, and everybody evacuates. Luke, having discovered the Force and trained by Obi-Wan, goes at Obi-Wan's insistence to Dagobah to train under the Jedi Master who instructed him, Yoda. So, as he trains with Yoda, he keeps failing at every test, and ultimately he goes off to face off against Vader, who is torturing Han, Leia, to send off, feelings of pain and suffering to attract Luke so he can capture him. Vader chops off Luke's hand, much like Count Dooku chopped off Vader's arm. Luke finds out Vader is his father, and Lando Calrissian, who betrayed Han, has a change of heart. They evacuate Cloud City, and everybody loses, even Vader. He doesn't get Luke. Luke loses the fight and loses his hand. Everybody loses. Which brings us to Return of the Jedi, where the quest for the Grail is finally achieved. Essentially, they go back to Tatooine to save Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt, who has been tracking Solo ever since Empire and has captured him. So they go to save Han Solo. Leia gets captured and turned into my favorite Star Wars character, Slave Leia, who's in the movie for a total of about 10 minutes, but it's 10 lovely minutes. She kills Jabba the Hutt with the chains meant to imprison her. Very great, ironic twist of events. So they go to the moon of Endor to take out the shield generator protecting the second bigger Death Star. Vader's on board the second big Death Star with the Emperor, and Luke confronts Vader after a huge battle in space between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire. As Luke looks at the lightsaber and looks at the Emperor and then looks to Vader, Vader nods, which I think is indicative and can be taken another way. If you look at it from a different perspective, Vader's already been redeemed by Luke. And after Luke has been kind of trained by two other masters, Vader is training Luke to fight like a Jedi in combat by giving him a sparring partner in the form of himself. Vader is teaching Luke how to use the weapon and what to do right under the Emperor's very nose. And Luke doesn't get it at all. He thinks Vader is taunting him, much like the audience does. But if you look at it from another way, he is teaching Luke. I think Vader warns Luke about Leia potentially turning to the dark side, and Luke takes it as a threat. I think the audience took it as a threat, but Luke takes it as a threat against his sister, and he just lays it on Vader, just whoops him, and eventually Darth Sidious, the Emperor Palpatine, saying, "Very good, now take your father's place at my side." Luke stupidly throws away his lightsaber, ignoring everything he's been taught, but in doing so gets his ass fried. And Vader, ultimately the chosen one, decides to fulfill the prophecy and save his son by killing Emperor Palpatine and himself. But Luke did save Vader. Now, what has all of this got to do with the search for the Grail? Well, in his own way, George Lucas did make the story about the search for the Grail, in that, as Steven Spielberg put it in The Last Crusade, the search for the Father is the search for the Grail. So Vader is the Grail in Luke is searching for his father, and ultimately he does get his father back. He unmasks his father and ultimately obtains the Grail. Sir Galahad redeems Lancelot for his attack on Camelot, and Luke redeems Vader for his attack on the Jedi Temple. Ultimately, the Empire is brought down, and there's a huge celebration at the end. Luke sees his father, Obi-Wan, and Yoda all together, and that's how the Star Wars saga ends. There's a seventh one, but yeah, that's fan fiction. I don't consider it to be canon. Star Wars ended for me with Episode 6. Alright, this is the Connoisseur signing off. Tell me what you think. Comment. Whatever. In the end, Sir Galahad, Luke,